Hello and welcome back to the Marketing Chatroom. I am here today with Logan Rivenes. Super excited to talk with him about DemandGen. He's a full stack marketer with lots of experience on both the sales and the marketing side. So we'll get into that a little bit as well. And he is also host of a newer podcast called DemandGen Confidential. So excited to have you here today, Logan, and introduce you to the viewers.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kayla. Like Kayla mentioned, Logan, here to talk a little bit about marketing. I got 15 years experience helping build revenue for B2B companies. Most recently, the last decade in B2B SaaS, and helping them build up their pipeline and demand gen engines. And happy to nerd out on everything marketing and demand gen today. So hopefully there's a few tactics and tidbits that people get.
Yeah, for sure. I think with your experience, they definitely will. So we'll jump right in. One thing you and I have been chatting about is webinars, and I'm excited for everyone to hear your opinions on webinars and how they should be done, and how, some people might not be using them appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of simple, like a simple like webinars aren't new, and that's the kind of the interesting thing about like certain marketing tactics is you can go back and it's like you don't always have to come up with the new stuff. So I'm a huge fan of webinars, especially if you're starting at a new place or what have you, is just come in and launch a webinar. And there's a lot of benefits, and I always like to think of it's like four key benefits for webinars. It's ultimately you get to speak with customers. So if you're in an organization and you're a marketer, it's almost always that there's a long line of people that want to talk to customers. And like, I know that we talk in marketing, like, oh, you should definitely be talking to your customers, all this. It's so much harder than just go talk to customers, because there is a line at your company. If you run a webinar and you do it with a customer, you get to basically get jumped to the front of the line and go talk to the customer. And so then you start getting feedback almost immediately. So it's like there's the self-interested portion of it that you get there. The next is you get video content, you get customer tutorials. If you're doing them right, you should be getting pipeline for your sales team, and you get assets to run multi-channel campaigns afterwards. I ran through all of the other ones a little faster because the first one is like what we always talk about as marketers. But it's my opinion that like webinars should absolutely be driving pipeline for your sales team. And the way to do it is like it's basically like a 4 or 5 step process. I don't know. I can't really count that well. So I'm saying 4 or 5, and I'm going to ramble through a few. But
Uh-huh.
really, it's taking a customer, like if you have really good logoed customers that people know, like well known brand names, you want to target those because it hits people that, like, oh, I want to go see what Coca-Cola's doing. Not that you necessarily have Coca-Cola, but that should be like the first set of targets.
Hmm.
Then coming up with a really nice storyline, and the storyline should almost always tie to a pain point and like something numerical or a metric, like ROI driven, something like go back to some of the ones that I've done in the past, like employee engagement improved 20%. That's for like an HR audience. So something super tactical for the audience. And then absolutely do not make it about your product. They should be running programs outside of what your product does. You can do a plug in the content and storylines, but you got to leave the audience with something interesting. And I always break the content into basically 3 questions. And because, like I said, I can't really count that well. So, like, 3 is really good because it's like 3 topical questions and then make it a conversation within those 3. Um, and so that's kind of like the content portion of it. And then really it's about then promotion. And the way I benchmark webinars is you should be looking at like at least 100 registrants. Like if you're not getting 100 registrants, and this is for B2B SaaS, like B2B companies,
Yeah.
um, then we should go back to the drawing table as to why we didn't hit 100. And that can be across prospects and customers,
Okay.
but that should be kind of like your success metrics of like, this is the baseline that we should be hitting. Like regularly 150, shouldn't be impossible, and you should be leaning on a lot of email for that. Because the nice thing about webinars is uh, you can use it to your existing audience to come in. And then it's making sure that after the fact, you have your sales team enabled in order to do follow-up. And you basically break that follow-up into attendees and just registrants, and use that time with them in order to help drive pipeline and get people into meetings based on what they've seen throughout the webinar. And in that follow-up, the marketing team who is doing the webinar should enable the team with things like, they talked about XYZ at 11:52. Would you want to see how that could apply to your business? Like that kind of stuff. That's not just a generic, hey, sorry I missed you at the webinar, like all that. That could be a
Mhm.
marketing email, like if that's what you want. I mean, the marketing email should probably be a little better than that anyways, but so that's kind of there. And attendance rate like 30%. So if you're getting like 50 attendees on that 150 registrants, like that's all normal and good to go. So I wouldn't expect anybody to hit higher than 30%.
Yeah.
Um, but and then after the fact, like you get all sorts of content and stories out of that customer. So like your sales team is probably asking for, customer stories, ROI slides. Like there's no reason to go interview customers outside of this webinar thing, because you can get it from them during that episode.
Right.
And at least I'm of the opinion, like, you know, marketing teams are, you know, going to be lean. And so you have to be able to double dip as much as possible on the activities that you are doing.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, I think that's super
That was a
accurate.
lot. That was a big, long monologue.
No, I that was great.
I
And
have a
and
lot
I
to talk
think
about on webinars.
that's great. I love it. And I think that a lot of people, sometimes even myself included, have like had a bad experience, like have a bad connotation with the word webinars, because we have been to so many where you just come in and you're immediately being sold to, and you're like, okay, this doesn't provide me value in any way, because I'm not even sold in on the idea that A, I understand what this company does and provides as a value, and B, like, do I even need this? Is this relevant to my life and what I'm looking for help with? So I've found that. So I'm curious your opinion between short form video and webinars, like what the difference is. Because for me personally, I like short form where I can take something away real quick and apply it, like thinking of sales content specifically for
Hmm.
myself. So I take a tip away from a 30, 60-second video I saw on Instagram, and I apply it to my sales call that I have this afternoon, right? And I love that. Webinars, I mean, I would love if there were a 30-minute webinar where someone was actually sharing valuable advice with me, but I think maybe some companies are scared to do that because they think they're like giving away all their secrets.
Yeah. I mean, the way I think about it is the two aren't mutually exclusive.
Okay.
And so if you need 30 to 60-second sound bites, the beauty of running a webinar, for instance, is you can get all of those 30-second sound bites in editing. And then you just provide them to the sales team in your clips. And it's kind of one of the things I've been mulling over lately in kind of the content strategy, is thinking video first content strategy.
Hmm.
And like the shorts are super important, like you have to have them, but like I mentioned, like with the customer stories, like you don't necessarily need to do it in two different ways. And so the way I'm starting to think about it is like all of our human effort of creating content like should be spent on like on the video capture portion of it.
Okay.
And webinars is just one avenue to capture video. And then you can use it in all sorts of formats, because you can get snippets from customers that are short, long, whatever you want. Because that, I mean, like you said, the 30, 60, 90-second clips are super important. And like you probably use them all in your sales cycle, right?
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, so I wouldn't think of them as being mutually exclusive. And then it's just thinking about other ways that you could start capturing video.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. So when you say video first strategy, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, well, webinars is one portion of it. Then the other style of video that I love and is kind of like the product tour type videos. Like if you're a marketer, you follow Rand Fishkin at all in his new Spark Toro stuff.
Hmm.
His style of product videos where they're super quick, 1-2 minutes, and he's just doing them as a screen share, like figuring out a motion to be able to do that
Okay.
on a regular cadence, because then you can also use those in various ways and figure out how to do that for your business. And then the other is depending on what your company's doing as far as channels, if you're going to events or meeting people in person,
Yeah.
taking opportunities to just set up your phone and a tripod and a little lavalier mic and doing interviews there and do 5-10 minute interviews and then cut those up into your 30, 60, 90 day or 30, 60, second clips that you need. So it's
Mhm.
taking all the opportunities that you might be able to record video and doing that first, because ultimately, like written blog post, the written social media post, there's tons of really great editing platforms. Like I personally use Descript that can help you summarize that, and then you can create the written out of the video, and now you've got kind of a double dip in that.
Yeah.
I mean, Two Trees is doing a great job of video
Thanks.
first. Like there's videos all over that I see.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been working hard on that this year.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I love how you said in both contexts, really, that you are also getting video and sound bites and testimonials and whatnot from the consumers and from the target audience. I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about. And even at a trade show, that's a great idea. I mean, people are super engaged. People are looking to engage further when they're at a trade show because everyone's there for some kind of reason. So that's
yeah.
really cool.
And it's surprising how easy it is.
Uh huh.
So my colleague and I did, we tested around, we'd been like monkeying around last year for a good part of the year on this. And then we went to HR Tech and we basically just said, we're just going to go walk around and ask people if they want to be interviewed and join
Okay.
us. And like, once you get past the awkward phase a little bit, it was like people really wanted to, like, it was super easy. Like, I was shocked at how easy it was. And we just asked a few canned questions and we had all sorts of content later. And ultimately, one of them closed to a deal.
Nice.
So within like 2 months
Oh, that's
after
really cool.
interviewing them. And so, I mean, it is possible to produce an ROI on this if you're brokering a conversation that's different than just a straight pitch.
Right.
And the setup is so easy. Like camera phones are so good now. Like I got like a little lavalier thing off of Amazon for like $20.
Uh huh.
A little tripod stand for $20. You're $40 in, and you've got a content machine.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So the ROI
Very cool.
then just starts to hit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you can't really lose with that one.
Yeah.
Nice. Next topic I want to dive into with you is sales and marketing. So you've been
Yeah.
on both sides of it, and this is like, the constant struggle, the tug of war between sales and marketing. So I'd love to get your insight there on just your experience and kind of like how you, as a marketer, how you can like win over your sales team and just make the two work together a little bit more seamlessly.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the baseline of this is if you've worked with a sales team or if you've worked at enough companies, there's probably not a single one where there's this beautiful relationship of everything. There's always the tug and pull between the two. And it's we're sending you leads, like the leads aren't good. Like, you're claiming credit for way more than what you're doing, on the ROI spectrum.
Yeah.
And I've been on both sides. And one of the main reasons I moved from sales into marketing is I was like, well, I could probably do better on the alignment factor. I
Nice.
thought that. I don't, I
Uh-huh.
mean, I think that I do, but I don't know. That's not for me to judge. It's for my sales counterparts to judge. Uh, but really, I think it's understanding what their motivations are. Like the number one thing that I think about when I work with sales teams is what activities are we going to do that are going to put money in their back pocket? Like that, like the incentives are so important on that. And that's like kind of my North Star metric. And if you think in that context, you can start to wipe away all the things that are wasting time or that aren't moving the needle or that are like they look cool and do cool, but you get into the practical things. And so once you hit the practical stuff and you can have that conversation with your team, with your sales team, and say, these are the things that we're working on together and it's generating revenue for you, then you can start building that trust level that you are getting them what they need, which is money in their back pocket. Uh, and so that's like step number one that I think about. And the second is that most salespeople that I've worked with are data driven. They think about numbers, like it's just ingrained in the way that you operate. And so getting a little versed in data and the data that they think about and how they think about, and then talking with it on their level, not their level, but the commonalities. So the common data sets that you have. So
Yeah.
like you don't necessarily want to put website traffic into a conversation with them. You want to talk about their pipeline and
Right.
like what's that split of pipeline? Like, so is it SMB mid market and how much revenue do each of those buckets contain?
Hmm.
And so it's the common metrics that you want to be talking with them that the two of you can share. And then
Yeah.
how are you both moving the needle on those? And then doing that. And then a lot of times what I get asked and the way that I work with the teams is they're usually starved for great customer stories or ROI case points in order to help close the business. Like, usually a company has them
Hmm.
and they've probably got a good chunk of them, but there's always some gap. And so working with them on those gaps on a constant basis. So now you've got basically like, building revenue with them, aligning on metrics that are, shared, that the two of you can, have a good conversation about, and then getting them the stories that they need in order to help them accelerate the deal cycle.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody comes to the table when you have that kind of stuff. And I think that that's kind of the way that I approach it, and just thinking in that context and that lens. And ultimately, all that stuff is great for the business. Like, it's not just what your sales team wants; it's what the business ultimately wants.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm on the sales side of my marketing agency. So I kind of bridge the gap there a little bit,
Yeah,
but I resonate with with the stories. I'm always being asked for like testimonials, case studies, references, because people want to know that what I'm saying is like has some validity, right? Like I can do a great job pitching them on our services and what we do as a marketing agency, but if I don't have like a single example to back it up, that's like a story that we worked with this client and this is what happened and this is what their goal was and this is how we helped them reach it, then it's kind of all irrelevant. So that's a really good point. If we could get more focused on those stories and less focused on like, because sales teams don't care about vanity metrics, like cool, you got 7 million clicks on an ad, but we didn't get any meetings. Like that's all irrelevant data.
yeah. And there is a marketer that needs to focus on that, but that is within their scope
Yeah.
and what they're using for their scorecard of what's working, not necessarily what you present to other people. Like, it's,
Yeah.
marketers have to be marketers and, give people what they want internally.
Hmm.
And it's interesting on the, like, you tell your agency or your clients that are bringing into the agency, like, we can do XYZ for you. And I think of it like customer stories are almost like your sources. Like, if you're like writing anything, it's here's my, outlandish claim, but it's valid because of this particular person we did it for.
Hmm.
And think of it, it's all, in a simplistic term, that's like what you're doing.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And that works for people. And that works for me as a consumer, right? If I hear a really
Yep.
cool story about how this business helped this company do exactly what I'm looking to do, like my same exact goal, like I'm going to be super interested in that.
Yeah, and tying it all the way back to the video first, like if you're thinking in the video first, you can get those stories from talking to people through all the different avenues and ways that you're capturing your
Yeah.
initial content. So thinking about kind of that end journey in mind of what you need to get and what the company and your teams and everybody's asking for.
Yeah, yeah, good point. I'm really new in my content journey. I've just been doing shorts since January.
Yeah.
But I have found that the ones that have a story, like an example of something I've done for a client, those perform the best because they resonate obviously with the audience. So I need to figure out how to incorporate more of that into my content as well.
Yeah, it's like I get initially when I'd done like a bunch of like my, practice writing and all this stuff earlier on in my career, I had come across Ryan Holiday and, Seth Godin and all of them, and they use stories that aren't necessarily, related to business. I think that's why you get now the I went to a baseball game, here's what I learned about,
Yeah.
what it means about B2B SaaS on LinkedIn type stories, because they're taking that.
Yes.
But they always talk about these, like they have big storytelling arms into what the example that they're doing, and like just kind of taking tips from nonfiction authors that do this is always something that I've personally tried to do, and then weave it into a story, because ultimately numbers are fine, but you got to wrap it into the story.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That emotional piece that just pulls back into everything that your target audience is thinking about and feeling.
Yeah.
Um, Awesome. This has been a great conversation, but I know we have one more thing we wanted to touch on before we go, which is AI agents. So I'm going to kick it over to you to give your
Yeah.
little opinion on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hot. It's a hot topic, AI, and it's interesting because a lot of the stuff that I see on social and LinkedIn and marketers talking about it and stuff, it's super top level, like is it good, is it bad, what's it going to do to the future, all that stuff. That's not what I'm here or interested in talking about. It's like, what can we start doing that's like just using it as a tool to do stuff. And one of the ones, like especially for HubSpot customers, is looking at agent.ai, and they allow you to go in through a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, interface, and start building workflow agents. It's super similar to HubSpot's workflows engine or Marketo's workflows engine or whatever
Mhm.
automation tool you've done, and you can actually just go build agents to do stuff for you. And I actually worked with one of the guys who's running their DemandGen right now, and uh, he gets to interface with uh, the HubSpot team, but it's this
Uh,
full marketplace of all these different agents. So you can do stuff like company research. And the nice thing about it being with HubSpot is you can just use a workflow to throw a webhook that goes and researches the company, pulls it back as a
yeah.
marketer, and then can summarize the company and all its interests in 2 to 3 sentences and present the lead to like you, Kayla, so that you
Yeah.
now have it all summary. It's not in a bunch of fields. It's now just in a nice little summary for you.
That's really
Um, and so what's really nice is like, I know HubSpot's going through this whole company intelligence thing and, Breeze credits and like this kind of in the weeds of some of the stuff, but you can use their Breeze intelligence through agent.ai and webhooks and bringing in all sorts of information like funding rounds and, you know, anything like the tech they use, all that kind of stuff.
wow.
And the other one that was super interesting that has been built on agent.ai is, and I was talking to an old colleague yesterday about it, is if you pull all of your one deals out of your CRM and get all of their LinkedIn profiles, you can
Uh-huh.
have an agent run and summarize what your ideal company profile is, and then go
Oh,
rematch it with everything, because it'll go pull all of their LinkedIn profiles, everything on their LinkedIn profiles. And so now you have a much better sense of what your ideal customer profile is based on what's winning in your CRM and the actual people there. I mean, and so like these are like two use cases that
yeah.
I like, my mind was blown on the ICP one. And
That's
I was like,
cool.
I got to go do this.
That's really cool.
And the beauty is that like it's so like it's really accessible. Like, and it's just figuring out what's like an interesting problem I want to solve, and then
Mhm.
going and just monkeying around with it and
Yeah.
figuring out and doing stuff. And I think it's like, if you do that, you're good. Like ultimately, if your audience goes and signs up with agent.ai or any of the other ones like N8N and Lovable's got like website builders, and there's all sorts of them,
Yeah.
obviously chat GPT and the GPTs, you're ultimately gonna be in like the 1 or 2% of marketers right now.
Right. And that's what
Like, and just
everyone wants to be, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because of all the crazy stuff you can do.
That's so cool.
It's good, it's not good. Like, it's growing, it's developing faster. Like, I'm no expert other than the fact that I've done a couple of these and I think it's interesting.
Sure.
And it gets out of the debate of AI and just like, let's see what this tool can do for me.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I haven't tried any of that yet, and I'm very excited. I was like, should I be taking notes? Luckily, we're recording this because it's
Yeah.
that's so cool. It sounds like a really, really powerful tool that can help just kind of bring everything together. Yeah, I'm excited. I love AI. I know everyone loves to go back and forth about like, oh, should we be using M dashes in our posts? Like that's really, I feel like that's really like such a low level usage of AI. And what you're talking about sounds incredibly powerful.
Yeah. I mean, there's also all the transcript stuff. So, like, your platform that you're using here probably has a whole bunch of stuff to help you
Yep,
edit what we're going to do today.
it does. Yeah, and it's magic.
Yeah. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Well, any closing thoughts before we go? This has been great.
Uh, Really, no. I mean, if you want to connect, like, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. You can head to my website, redbikemarketing.com. May sound odd. I liked riding red bikes for a while, so that's why it's there. But
I see there
yeah,
that
I'm in
in
all
your
the places.
background too.
I do little bookends. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
nice.
so, but yeah, feel free to connect. Always happy to, chat and nerd out on marketing things. So yeah, it's been great, Kayla. I appreciate the, you know, uh, time to chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been absolutely wonderful. And I think a lot of great, fantastic takeaways for the audience on this episode. So, really excited to get it out there. Thank you, everyone, for watching and joining us today on the Marketing Chat Room. Bye.